I'm going to start talking. I hope you're listening. Metaphor number one. I'm going to go quickly through these because we are on a time limit. A few metaphors on steroids. Things that subvert the energizing streams. Okay, now I was going to play a really disgusting clip of these catfish. They're huge, by the way, in the last bit of the mud. You know, and they were in their death throes, but we're going to skip that. You have good imaginations. The metaphor, though, for us in the church is guarding the muddy bottom from the inside. Okay, I know people who do this. They thrash about all over about this thing or that thing or the other thing, and everything that doesn't sit right with them, they cast either into doom and gloom for the whole church, or some other such thing. Or they want to take their toys and go home. And they want to keep a grudge. And that's what I like, the idea of this sort of, it's as if they're guarding this muddy bottom from the inside. So I want you to consider this. Now, one creature created to swim freely chooses to stay sucked into death-trapping mud. I mean, seriously. Okay? So how is it and why is it that we creatures created in God's image defend to the death ourselves and Christ's church? Oh wait, I have to put the emphasis in a different place there. Defend to the death of ourselves and Christ's churches our mud-bound, mud-burrowing, already shrunken stream-bed behaviors. But there we are, praying for new members and vitality and others to come and take up our burdens, all the while guarding ferociously the ever-thickening pool of mud. End of metaphor one. Oh no, we do this because we've forgotten. We've forgotten that fresh water will come in its season. We've forgotten our task. We've forgotten that it's our job to preserve life, not protect the mud hole. So let's stop forgetting already. Now, I don't want any of you coming up and saying, well, I take a real issue with you comparing the church to the mud hole. I did not make that analogy, you did. Metaphor number two, suffocating the other. Suffocating the other. Okay? I'm going to quickly use a scene from Eat, Pray, Love, the movie with Julia Roberts. Towards the end of her stay at the ashram, she is still confessing that she's waiting for her ex-husband's forgiveness for herself to be able to move on. And her friend Richard, I think it's Richard, takes her up to the top of one of the buildings and says she can't come down until she has forgiven herself. And so she spends the whole night there, and part of what she does while she's there in her deep meditation is she envisions her husband, her ex-husband, and herself being in conversation there on the rooftop. And they're dancing, and he says, I still love you. And she says, so love me. I still miss you. So miss me. And then put it aside. We can go on. We can live. We don't have to be here in this place, locked in this any longer. So this one leads gently into the next one, number 3, and I call this entombing loss. You know, like building a tomb around loss and grief and anger, and setting up a shrine and worshiping the shrine and making sure that no air or anybody else or anything gets inside where we have packed away this grief and anger and loss. And it's almost as if we're nurturing it like the dwarfs protected Snow White in her glass tomb, because somehow we're afraid it's really going to die. And what will we have left? Entombing loss gets in the way of desert streams coming into our lives and the lives of the congregations. Brain freeze is the fourth one. You have to let it end on a light note, right? Brain freeze. Remember the brain freeze that you get sometimes when you eat ice cream? And just, okay. This happens when we know, now, not the brain freeze, I don't eat that much ice cream, unfortunately, but the brain freeze happens in the churches a lot, and I see it in the midst of, oh, please don't do this to me, by the way, while you're here. I see this a lot in the sessions where people go to get answers about why isn't stuff working in the church the way it used to, and we used to be able to do this, and people would come out, and so many people have left, or new people have come, but they want to make changes, and you know, why do we have to do things differently in the worship service, or can't we please do something differently in the worship service, or, you know, this is what happens, and they want the questions answered. They really think they want the questions, well, they really do want the questions answered. What they don't want is the answer that they're going to get, because what they want is an answer that does not include the words change, technology, or postmodern. Or any permutation of that. Okay, so, but of course, the answer, when we give it truthfully, is offered and explained once again, and all those bad words are in it. And so the brain freeze sets in, and right along with the brain freeze, deafness follows. Tends to get in the way of those refreshing streams breaking forth in the Delta. Okay, that's enough. No, don't go anywhere yet. That's enough for new stuff. I want to wrap up by leaving you an image that I hope you will take into the rest of the day and perhaps home with you. And if you like it a lot, you can find it on YouTube. So give us a moment. Lights, please.